Were you not entertained by Eaglestaff last night?
That kid.
Was he not Larry Bird-esque last
night?
All
I can think of is Dunaway has never gotten anything more right than he got this kid right.
Yeah.
Like I expected the kid
Had you ever seen the kid play?
No. I can answer that. No.
I told
he
Scott.
saw his stats.
Yeah, he saw his stats.
I told Scott there was, as the basketball season was starting, I get all these newsletters, right? And there was a newsletter that said 10 players that you should know but don't know in college basketball. And he was one of them. And it had a clip, as they do. They embed a tweet of his highlights. And as I said on the show yesterday, he would dribble. He wasn't catching and shooting three-pointers. He'd be off the dribble shooting three-pointers.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, he looks really good. And it felt last night like you were watching, you guys, a lot of you are too young to remember Larry Bird at Indiana State. But Larry Bird at Indiana State, he was the offense. And it was Larry Bird and a bunch of other guys.
Yeah.
And they went all the way to the national championship game. Now, North Dakota sucks, but...
and Larry Bird could do everything. This kid can only shoot.
Yeah, but he could shoot. I thought he'd go for 23 last night. He went for 40 last night.
That was a career high.
Yeah, and Alabama had to fight to get out of there with a win. And I'm on the wonderful Auburn Twitter hit list today because I said during the game, this feels like, I didn't say North Dakota was a 14 seed in the NCAA tournament, though that's about where they'd fall if they won the Summit probably. I said, this feels like I'm watching a 3-14 NCAA tournament game. That's what it felt like because you had athletes on one team and a bunch of nobodies on another team, and the game was tight all the whole game. You had seven ties and 5 lead changes, and Alabama didn't lead from like 17 minutes and 40 seconds of the first half until 15:50 in the second half. Alabama didn't lead.
Oh, I get the analogy. Why were they beat up about that?
Yeah, so they were saying North Dakota, there's no way that's a 14.
They're a 4-win team, Dunaway. And I was like,
how did they tweet it in that voice?
You could just tell.
Oh, okay.
You could just tell.
It is a team that lost to Utah Valley 2 weeks ago by 23.
Yeah.
I mean, it made no sense.
No,
in the 300s.
I laid the 25 last night.
At least you didn't have to sweat it.
I won in my booking.ag because I played North Dakota plus the 25.
So it was never close, by the way.
Yeah.
The 25.
I kept thinking the entire game though it's going to end up being a 26-point Alabama.
Bama's going to go on this late run. They never did.
Hey, and then from about 8 minutes on, I was just praying Alabama got out with a win.
I mean, the crazy thing is Bama. If I was to tell you that Bama shot 52%, North Dakota shot 43%, Alabama almost rebounded them by double digits. I mean, it would set up for Alabama basically leading wire to wire, winning the game 15 to 20 points.
Well, I mean, North Dakota just had more possessions. Alabama had 14 horrible turnovers. They missed 10 free throws, 11 free throws. I
think the cold got them, man.
The cold got them?
Yeah, I think they got off the plane and they never readjusted.
So I thought the same thing you thought, to be fair. Not that it was like a 3-14 matchup. It had nothing like an NCAA tournament feel. My only thing was, this Eaglestaff kid is normally the guy you never have heard of until North Dakota's shocking a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Right. And you're like, it was like, I can't remember his name, but like the kid that played for Oakland, that all he could do was shoot. What was his name?
The one that always busts our brackets. I mean, that was the type of game
the kid that hit 8 or 9 threes. Was it against Kentucky?
Yeah, and that's all he could do. Like, he's a traffic cone on defense. But, buddy, he can drain a 3, and that is it. And they just kept running him out there and letting him shoot. That's Eaglestaff.
Yeah. But it was the reason why it felt like a 3-14, 2-15. It was like even when they would throw up a brick, it would rattle off all the way out to the 3-point line. And then that little skinny point guard or defensive guru guy who only shot the ball 3 times and hit 2 threes, he'd catch it, and then he would shoot like a push shot, and it would go nothing but the bottom of the sack. And I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, and then they had the one guy who, I've got some receding hair on the old shorelines here. They had that one poor guy.
Yeah.
That just had it shaved down. Did you see that guy?
Yeah.
Like, he had his whole hair shaved, and he had like this landing strip that came down to here.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing, man? I mean, that guy looked like he'd be playing.
The Eaglestaff kid did make him some money last night.
Oh, no doubt. They joked about it in the CBS studio afterwards and I was only half joking.
By the way, I don't think we'll ever see that crew again. I don't know who they were.
I'd never heard either one of them.
I'm sorry to say, but the sideline reporter.
That was Chris Farley in the Gap sketch.
I mean, she was not good. I mean, every time she would do a hit, I was like, I sort of judge people on their broadcasting skills. That's what I used to do on TV. And I mean, my God, EG would be a gold medalist. She'd be playing down to that crew last night.
Yeah, you think EG wants to move to North Dakota?
Negative. I'm sure that girl's a local. They're like, we got to have a sideline because there's going to need to be an
That's
interview.
probably what they did. They rolled into a local bar the night before. Hey, we need sideline reporter. We need play-by-play. And we need an analyst.
She did say to Grant Nelson, welcome back to North Dakota. So it does seem like she was local.
Yeah.
Probably. But the Eaglestaff kid, I mean, he definitely could find a spot on a big-time roster just because of his ability to shoot, and he can handle it.
Yeah.
So,
And he's 6'6".
You know what's funny, though? Because you had sold us on this kid. And you had sold me on the fact, or sold the show on the fact that he might be in the transfer portal and Alabama might want him. I'm like, well, I got to see this
Well,
kid.
he's got 1 full year left.
Yeah.
And as they said in the studio afterwards, he would get $750,000 to go play somewhere.
Yeah.
But I turned the game on late first. I didn't pick it up until later in the first half. And the first thing I see is on the floor, it's something Ingles Stand Arena.
Yeah, Betty.
And I'm like, well, freaking Dunaway. First of all, I thought he was saying Eagle Staff. I didn't know he was saying Ingles Stand. And I'm like, there's no way a kid can transfer from a school whose family's name is on the court. So I watched the rest of the first half, and they never CG'd him. So the whole time I'm thinking this kid's just got like some family. That's how he's playing at North Dakota. His family's the big donor at North Dakota.
I mean,
he's a rich kid who's got an indoor gym.
His you know, I mean, I would say his relatives are like extras for Taylor Sheridan, different shows and stuff. I mean, he's got to be Native American, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, with that name does sound very, that name sounds very
Anytime you got eagle or
Staff,
deer or
I mean,
buffalo.
he had a great grandfather that was high on peyote.
Yeah.
In a tent, sweating it out, naked.
right.
He was Tyshawn running Eaglestaff at some point. He dropped running. Didn't fit on the jersey.
So I'm in the middle of trivia, and I just walked up to some buddies at the bar when we have a little break here and there, and they were like, this legitimately looks like a team from the Y.
It does.
Yeah.
With one ringer.
Yeah, and that's what you typically see in these men's leagues that we used to play.
Like I see probably every Sunday Joe Ross Merritt at church, the former Sanford, and anytime I see him, all I can think about is
Our Hoop It Up team?
Is the Hoop It Up team. And Lance went and recruited Joe Ross Merritt, one of the great players in Sanford history.
Well, there's a bunch of white dudes like me.
Yep.
Joe Ross is bigger. Joe Ross is probably 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, Joe Ross about 6'5".
And we went and we played. So on those teams, you would have 4. So 3 would play, and you had 1 sub.
Rotating, yeah.
And we played these 4 bros that were like all 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah.
All ex-college guys.
It should have run you out of the gym.
Yeah, and we kept it close because Joe Ross, and they were just like, and they were fist bumping him like, this dude can play.
So I see Joe Ross at church every Sunday, and every Sunday I see him. All I can think about is Lance going to get him to be on his Hoop It Up team because he was a dead ringer.
He was so good. But that's what you got last night with the Eaglestaff kid. I don't know, man. I mean, Alabama, they still scored 97 points. Something seems a little off.
It's a weird team.
It's the defense right now that seems off. I keep bragging on Auburn's team defense, how good it is. Alabama's defense has a lot to search for. Cut 2, Tyler, if you'll start us off there. Grant Nelson, the only reason they were in this game was because of Grant Nelson. They were back there to sort of thank him for his contributions on the Final Four team. And this is after he went to the locker room, and Nate Oates, who was very nice, very calm on the sidelines, very nice in the pregame, halftime, postgame interview with the local Grand Forks broadcasting female reporter. Grant Nelson finally let the cat out of the bag. How Nate Oates felt about this performance in the postgame.
I mean, we played awful pretty much the whole game. We came in, we didn't take these guys as serious. Like I was telling them, like, this is a big game on their home court. Like, we got to come in and take these guys serious. They're playing for a lot. So I mean, we got yelled at like we should have. I mean, I'm sure we'll continue to get yelled at the rest of this week. But I mean, like I said, they played really great. It's a great team, and I think they'll win a lot of games.
Yeah. They got yelled at by Nate Oates at the postgame.
We played terribly. I mean, it's basically just a complete shot at the Fighting Hawks.
I think they know who they are, right? I mean, he essentially said that Alabama walked into this game thinking all they had to do was show up and win. Let's go. Guys, this is for Grant.
That's
what
I thought.
I did too.
Well, I know.
Everybody thought that.
They probably were like, Grant, how do you want to play this? Do you want us to just feed you the ball all night? Or
that's what I thought they would do.
Yeah.
Like, if you would have said somebody had 40 in this game, I'd be like, it was Grant Nelson.
Yeah, because they just kept feeding it.
Hey, but he was probably the most important Alabama player down the stretch.
He was not.
I apologize. Who was it then?
It was Houston Millette, who in 18 minutes of play had an plus 18 in the point differential when he was on the floor. 4 offensive rebounds, key when it was nip and tuck in the final 5 minutes of the game. Without Houston Millette pulling off that red shirt, I think they lose the game.
Well, it looks, yeah. So right till everybody was like, man, it's a devastating injury. But, I mean, the positive on the other side of that is Millette. And there was an Auburn fan at Odie's, and he was like, who is this kid? And he's like, he's from Pepperdine, and he has never seen a shot he doesn't like.
You loved him from day one. You laid eyes on him when we did the Memphis game.
I just like a kid that has that kind
of
of confidence.
Yeah.
And he's got the ultimate confidence, and I think he will become more of a contributor. Played the 19 minutes last night and had double digits, but I think he will become, once – I still think Nate is figuring out this rotation.
Yeah, there were a lot of interesting rotations last night.
Yep, there
I
was.
mean, it felt like Nate Oates was tinkering with some things in a game where he knows – they can probably win no matter what they do, which was in question for a minute.
But Philon is such a dynamic player when he's on the floor, and I know he can't play 40 minutes.
But Richard Hendricks said it. Was it yesterday? Like, this guy's got to be one of the starters when you asked him the starting five.
Yep. I mean, it's hard to keep Philon on the bench. There's no doubt.
To me, but there are games he doesn't seem like he took over the Creighton game at one point. And there are just times where he doesn't take over games because I don't think he's in the flow of the game enough. Mark had 23, Grant had 23, but Millette had 10, those big 4 offensive rebounds, and Alabama survives 97-90.